So you got a new optic, this fancy little Vortex Spark, but where do we put it on here? Do we put it here? Do we put it here? Do we center it in the middle? What's the proper placement for a red dot on an AR? That's what we're going over today. If you're watching this video and you're not a subscriber, join the community. Hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, get alerted every time I upload new content. If you're currently subscribed, thank you very much for your support. Welcome back. Let's get into the video. What's going on, guys? G2 here. Welcome back to the bench. And today we have a pretty easy video. I thought that this was common knowledge stuff, but the more I'm seeing, the questions that I'm getting, thought that, you know what, this is something that we got to do. We've done scopes, because scopes can be tricky. But for AR or red dot sights in general, we can do it on an AR, MP5, Scorpion, MPX, whatever you got. What's the best placement for a red dot? Couple rules of thumb here, but it really comes down to one thing. Before we get into that, I just want to make sure that everyone knows on your AR you do have a pick rail up here. Some of them will span down through the handguard. And while it is not really good practice to put any optics on a pick rail on your handguard, it's not unheard of people doing that. The reason that they don't do it is if your handguard shifts in any way, let's say you take it off to clean it, or maybe it's not on super tight and it moves a little bit, your zero's totally gone. I've seen people take it to the extreme and put it on their handguards. I personally, am not from the school of thought where that is okay. I prefer to keep mine mounted on these sections of pick rail that we have here. I know this is fastened, the barrel and everything is in line here. When we get into these free floating handguards, it gets a little out of the norm, I guess, for me. But I'm not saying that it can't be done. I just personally wouldn't do it. So when we're talking about installing a red dot onto your AR, here is the rule of thumb. You want to have it as far forward on your Picatinny rail as you can get. Now, in this case, you know, if we wanted to take it to the extreme, the far forward would be right here. So is this a good option? Probably not, because it's hanging over into our handguard here. So common sense would dictate you probably want to take it to, at minimum, here. I would go back one further to get it fully seated on that pick rail, so I have a little bit of pick rail showing. That's as far forward as I would go on this particular firearm. I've seen people say, you know, just center it up. Should be centered in the rifle. I have some people have it all the way back. The reason why this is not the best option, even middle is not the best option, is because typically when you're shooting with a red dot sight, you're shooting two eyes open, right? The farther back that you have it, the more that this optic is going to obscure your vision and your peripheral vision. It's going to get more into your line of sight, and you're going to see more optic and less of what's going on around you. So the further forward we keep it, the more our eye can transition left and right and see what's going on around us, if that makes sense. I'm going to bring this down. I've got a little contraption that I made that's going to give you an eye view of exactly what I'm talking about, and we're going to move this back in places to show you exactly what it looks like and why I think that having it forward is the best solution for everyone. So let me pop that thing on, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about. We have our red dot currently positioned as far back on our pick rail as we could set up. And you can see, if you're looking at this, the red dot is sitting a little high right now because the camera is a little higher than normal. So just ignore that. What we're looking at is how much field of view do we have. that red dot, as it stands right now, the optic in general, is taking up close to a half of the screen, which would mean 1/2 of our vision is obscured. So now we have moved the optic forward to the, I would call it the center position of the PIC rail. And you can see we have now increased our field of vision from what would be 1/2 to now 2/3 if we're guesstimating based on screen size. Much more right and also much more left has opened up for us. Meanwhile, if you notice, the red dot has not changed in size. So depending if you're moving this closer or forward, the red dot will stay the same size. So you're not sacrificing the size of the red dot. All we're doing at this point is allowing our eyes to see more of what's going on around us. Now finally, what we have here is the optic set at the farthest position forward that I showed earlier, still comfortably seated on the PIC rail, nothing's hanging off, and look at how much we can see now. This is probably now 20% of the field of vision is covered by the optic, and the other 80% is available for us to see. So we went from a half of it being blocked to now only 20% of it being blocked. That is a huge difference, and this is why when I say moving the optic forward is beneficial, this is exactly what it's doing, guys. And again, the red dot has not changed in size at all. It's still the same size as it was when it was in the forward position. All right, so I thought that was pretty interesting to be able to see how that vision opens up as this moves only down this little bit. And we're talking all in all, maybe 6 inches of rail from here to here. Huge difference in what you can see and what you can engage when you're using your optic. Now, how do we set this up? There's a couple easy methods. Obviously, we can just physically, form it up like so. So I'm going to share a little tip with you all. So on most ARs, pretty much everyone that I've seen, there's this little bulge here. And what this bulge is, the purpose of this bulge here is as your bolt is running through and it's kind of locking into battery, it's for the cam pin to be able to rotate in and out. It just gives it that little bit of space. If you actually look inside your upper receiver, when you remove your bolt, you'll see there's that little cutout right here, that little notch. That's where that bulge is. It's just giving a little extra space behind there. And that bulge just gives a little bit more integrity to the upper receiver. It has a little hash mark on it. Not sure if this was the intended design, but if you basically center your optic pretty much right over that bulge, you're pretty perfect as to where it should be. Except don't do it backwards like I just did. And then now this is perfectly set when we're using it. Now, we're talking about zero magnification optics here. If you have something with a magnifier, you will need to adjust for your eye relief, okay? But this has zero magnification, which means you will not have that ring around it. It won't be out of focus. If it is out of focus, if the dot is out of focus, it's an entirely different subject. You might want to check out what it means to have an astigmatism, but that's a topic for another day. You shouldn't have that ring that you would normally see with scopes. So for zero magnification, you can move it as far back, far forward as you want. Eye relief is really irrelevant, so long as you can see through it. When you have your cheek well, that eye line matches up with your lens. That's the most important thing. So just keep that in mind. Really, really easy tip. You'll be able to utilize your red dots much more efficiently. Try to shoot 2 eyes open. I know some of you don't do it. It takes some getting used to, but I promise you, you will become a better shooter if you do shoot with 2 eyes open, especially when using red dots. So until next time, guys, Make sure that you're practicing safe weapons handling at all times and treating every weapon as if it was loaded. God bless America. G2 out.